Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to the next episode of my podcast. I have some really good news. And the good news is this, my wonderful listeners from all over the world. We finally got a mention in the comedy press, and it was by accident. After 28 episodes, If Comedians Rule the World gets a mention. Actually, President Obonjo got a mention because I interviewed Kate Copstick. And if you remember, for those of you who download this, it was about the rant and what would happen to Edinburgh Fringe. And it got picked up. So I'm really, really pleased about that. And the last episode, which was with EJ Penelba, is doing extremely well. He's the community manager for Next Up. And one of the things he's focused on was what the comedy landscape was going to look like. Look, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm really excited by my next guest. And let me start by introducing him. His name is Richard Stott. He's originating from Hull. Richard is an actor, comedian, voiceover artist, and writer who trains at the Drama Studio in London. He also completed a degree in theatre studies and English at the University of Manchester. I thought he was going to say he did a degree in comedy because quite a number of people want to go and study comedy now. Richard has been interviewed on the Nihal Arthanayake Show on BBC Radio 5 Live, as well as for the Minds Over Matter podcast, BBC No Filter, and London Live. He has also appeared in the BBC Quickies sketch for BBC Three. Richard performed his first show, Wretched, at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2017, as well as Hull Truck Theatre and the Camden Fringe. Richard has debuted his solo comedy show, Right Hand Man, at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2019, during which he was listed in Dave's top 10 funniest jokes. Richard has performed at the likes of the Great Yorkshire Fringe, Royal Festival. Look, there is a wide range of things that this man has done. Richard was diagnosed with Pollard syndrome as a child and has experience of body, is that dysphobic? Is that how you pronounce it? Dysmorphia disorder, and mental health conditions. So he's got film credits, he's got television, radio credits, he's got live credits. You know what? As a military dictator who used to perform comedy, why do I do this to myself? Because every time I invite comedians to my podcast, I get jealous, but healthy jealous. I'm pleased for them. So it's not bitterness or anything. It's just wow. Look at the history and the achievements. And damn, I'm not going to talk about COVID, but damn General COVID for stopping us in our tracks. But we can only but recover. But I tell you why I wanted Richard at my podcast. There were so many people who felt really sorry for me 2 years ago as a result of the attempted coup by BBC Studios and E4. And there was so much outpouring of love and grief. At one point, I thought, maybe I died. Maybe something's happened. I was assassinated. Why am I getting all this love? I had to really pinch myself because at one point I just thought, who are these people? Who are these people saying, oh, sorry, President Obonjo? I don't even know them. But I just thought, wow, this is love. It was, I'm telling you, I thought I had died. Literally, I had been assassinated and I died and I was watching a film. That's how I felt.
Like an obituary, like literally, and no one would tell you were dead.
Nobody would tell me I'm dead. And it was only after I left Edinburgh that I realized that I wasn't dead because it was full on everywhere I went to. But anyway, that's history. But Richard struck a chord because I hadn't met Richard before until we met at Edinburgh, and he just came and he spoke to me, and we had a very lovely conversation. And I think we at times take, you see, I would be the first to admit that when I started performing comedy, it can be such a very lonely journey. You're as a creative, you're just out there on your own trying to do things. And when you connect with people, even though they might not realize the impact that they've had on you, Richard was one of them. And there are quite so many people who I would say attended my funeral in 2019. I need to go back to them and say thank you. And leave them up for a podcast.
I remember it. I remember because there'd been the attempted coup, and It's funny you say that this podcast was mentioned in Chortle for the first time, right? But actually, me speaking out about the attempted coup was my first mention in Chortle.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got quoted in the article about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's my first mention that I'm in there. I'm an official comedian being quoted on something, and it's about this. And I think the reason I felt strongly about it, and why so many other people felt strongly about it, is because if we allowed them to do that to you, then they would come for us as well. And it's free, it's open season on everybody's material at that point. So I was actually pretty, for once, quite proud of the comedy community. I mean, we don't actually do a lot that I'm proud of. That was actually quite a nice bit of it.
Yeah. And I think, it was. But like I said, it felt like I died and I was watching my funeral and people were just. But thank you so much for your support, because quite a number of people actually got mentioned for mentioning President Obonjo. And actually, even though the podcast is not about that particular subject, it hasn't stopped all these TV companies from nicking other people's, sitcoms or whatever you want to call them. And interestingly enough,
it makes you wary about pitching things.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I have a number of projects that I would like to present, but I am I don't mind if people hear this. I am so frightened by the fact that it could get nicked. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's made me a bit paranoid about who to trust. Yeah, sorry?
And there's some things that, if it's a simple joke and it's easy to come up with, and you just think, and someone's just come up with basically the same joke as you, and it's a different wording, but the thing is, it's really easy. And fair enough, it's there's a simple joke at the end of the day. But when it's a whole concept and it's a whole idea and everything like that, then it gets a little bit weird. It's not so much the same as what happened with you, but there was a joke, not just a joke, like a whole set piece made on a panel show, which will not be named, because I want them to employ me at some point, where a comedian, quite a famous comedian, did a whole 2-minute bit, which was so specific to stuff that I'd done in my first show. I did this whole bit about when I go to the supermarket, I feel like a can of beans on the reduced aisle, and I when I go to the supermarket, when I see a can of beans that's got a reduced sticker on it, I identify with the can of beans, because I feel like we are the same, and I always buy the kind of damaged goods and stuff like that in the supermarket. That same concept was basically used on a panel show.
Wow.
And I didn't know about it until a few people said, by the way, do you know that this comedian used this? And I remember it from your first show. And this happened a few times. And for a little while, I was like, no, it's just coincidence. But then I watched the clip and I thought, that is really specific. It's such a specific thing. Now, I don't think it was actually the comedian himself. Narrowing it down now, aren't we? I don't think it was actually the comedian himself. But obviously, we all know that these TV companies employ writers, and their writers are under a lot of pressure, and they only get paid if they come up with a certain amount of material. And there's nothing stopping people going to open mic nights and fringe shows and stuff like that, and just picking up the best stuff from upcoming comedians and getting a payday. You do think about it sometimes.
Yeah, you do, and it's such a very painful. It's always a very painful thing for someone to experience, and like I said, it hasn't stopped. I think certainly for me, I moved on from it, but time and time again, as soon as there is one accusation about someone stealing something, it gets nurtured on Twitter. Oh, you don't want a President Obonjo to happen to you. So it's now part and parcel of when it comes to nicking things. It's now part and parcel of what people will refer to in the industry. But that's fine. But I do not wish it on anyone. It's not a very nice experience.
No, terrifying.
You really need to be resilient, because it could just break you down. And the fact that I've been doing this for 11 years, wow.
Yes. A lot longer than me.
Yeah, 11 years, and I'm now doing Zoom podcasts. But it's all good. So how have you been? So last time I saw you, obviously, we had a very wonderful conversation at Gilded Balloon.
In the loft bar, right?
In the loft bar, without no alcohol. We just had a very lovely conversation. You were looking really happy. I think you just done a show that went very well.
Yeah, I was having a good fringe.
Yeah, I think you. I don't know whether you'd seen the reviews, but you were very, very positive about it.
I got some good reviews. I was very happy about it. Yeah, and I got I got a 3-star review on the first day from Chortle when I was still reading off a notebook, doing it as a work in progress.
Wow.
And it came back 3 stars, and I was like, a little bit disappointed that it wasn't. And then one of the guy who does my PR, Paul Sullivan, he's a great guy. He was like, no, you got 3 stars on the first day of the Fringe when he was still reading off a notebook. This is good. This is good. And yeah, he was right. And, it turns out that I'd written a show that sort of spoke to people in a certain way, and we'd worked hard on it enough, not just me, like the whole team. And yeah, I was pretty proud of what we did during that Fringe.
And so what did you then do with the show? Because I genuinely did not know until a few years after doing my 3rd Fringe, that some people actually then take their shows to, if they're allowed, take their shows to Soho Theatre, or they take it on tour. Has anything happened with that particular show that you did?
Well, I wanted to tour it. So we finished it obviously that was the Fringe 2019.
Yeah.
So we wanted to tour it, and 2020 came along and put a stop to that. So we got 2 of the tour dates in before the country got shut down, and I had a great show at the Leeds Playhouse.
Yeah.
West Yorkshire Playhouse. I think it's just called the Leeds Playhouse now, actually.
Okay.
That was a week before everything got shut down.
Okay.
So then we tried to schedule some more dates in, and we managed to get a date in the diary for the Greenwich Theatre in October it wasn't on October, it was on the 1st of November.
Yeah.
And we'd been locked down for a while back then, and it sold out instantly.
Wow. Well done.
I mean, it was socially distanced, so there wasn't, it wasn't a full audience. So then we said, well, have you got another night? And they said, we can give you the night before as well, on Halloween, 31st of October. And they gave us that as well. And we sold that out as well. So, and then to top it all off, once we knew we were doing well and everything like that, we managed to get Next Up Comedy to come in and film it.
Yeah.
And that was probably the biggest achievement of the year so far for me, of where that show went. And it got professionally filmed, really good audience. We had a great night. I redeveloped it with Burke's Nest, and we worked on it really hard, and then we turned it into an online show as well, so it could be broadened out. The show had a life afterwards.
Yeah, it's just really amazing how Next Up was able to capture that market. Because it's just really, really brilliant. I mentioned in the last podcast that it really has saved my presidency with the number of projects that I've done, and I think that's the way.
As well.
Sorry?
They believe so much in the comedians, and they know exactly what the comedians need, and I really love them. Yeah, I loved working with them.
So you've done the special. That's your greatest achievement. How else have you been? How have you been coping? How have you been? How have you been?
I've been
creative.
Oh, creative. Well, I suppose it counts as creative. I bought a massive cookbook of Mexican food, and I've been slowly getting my way through all the different salsas that you can make in that book. That's gone quite well.
Okay.
I'm writing a sitcom.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
hope they don't nick it.
And I'm hey. I'm writing a sitcom about a disabled actors company.
It's going to get
so all the actors have disability, and you know, I don't know what's going to happen in it, but the first episode involves you know, one of the characters. They all get invited to a house party, and one of the characters in a wheelchair. And they turn up to the house party, and it turns out the house party is on a boat on the canal.
Okay.
So we're like, well, how are they going to get the guy in? So they put a plank over to the boat, and the plank snaps, and the guy goes in the water, and it's all about him. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, I talk.
Hold on, is that your first sitcom?
I mean, yeah. I haven't written into this before, but I've worked in the acting industry for a while, so I've worked with a lot of sort of theatre scripts and TV scripts and stuff like that. So I kind of know what is terrible. Yeah. And I just try and not write that.
Yeah. And do you, because I genuinely believe it's a difference. You've had that opportunity to be an actor and to do acting. That transition from being a comedian to being a scriptwriter, that is quite a challenge, isn't it? Especially if you don't know what you're doing.
It's a completely different world to me, because like as a comedian, you write a funny thing and the payback is kind of instant, because you get someone laughing or sighing or groaning or something. Yeah. But with script writing, you sort of never get that. He's like, even if it gets made, you kind of never get that audible reaction to it.
Yeah, and also in terms of, because obviously as a comedian doing a sitcom, you want to make it funny, don't you? That's your ultimate goal. And it's not like live comedy where you can go on stage and then you test your jokes and you can tell which ones are funny. How do you know that what you've actually written in a sitcom is funny?
I'm finding that you just need to get as many eyes on it as possible.
Okay, people you trust.
I started off by just sending it to different comedians that I know.
Okay.
And then now I'm at the stage where I'm working with a guy who has quite a long history of making sitcoms and making comedy shows. Yeah. He's given me some great advice. Yeah. So we've booked in some sessions. He's given me ways to improve it. I go away for 2 weeks, make the changes. Also, I'm finding as well that sometimes you need to go to a place when writing that is so ridiculous. Okay. That you know for a fact it will never be used, but to go there, it gets you to the place where it needs to be. Because as a performer, I always find that it's always easier to rein things in than it is to build things up. So if you, even when you're performing stand-up or something like that, if you've got a segment that is so big and so outlandish, it's kind of helpful sometimes to make it just go that far with it, and then rein it back in, rather than going a little bit and a little bit, and then it's not enough, and you have to keep building it up. Yeah. Once you go so far, you've got all of it, it's all there. Yeah. And then you just take what you need. So I'm finding that transferable skill from performing into writing as well.
So that obviously, if I've heard you correctly, that actually means that you write lots and lots and lots and lots, and then there has to be. I don't know who that is. That might be the MFI.
It's your electric toothbrush, obviously.
It's my electric toothbrush. It's my phone. So what I was going to say is that, sorry about that. It's my electric toothbrush. You do a lot of writing, obviously, for the sitcom, but at the end of the day, you have to cut the fat, don't you? That's basically what
it's not so much about it. It's not so much about the actual amount that you've written.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for instance, I wrote a scene where the characters go to a restaurant, like a new chicken wings restaurant that's open. Yeah. And I wanted the chicken wings restaurant to be stupid because I wanted it to be a really fun scene. So I created. It's actually pretty relevant to this podcast. I created a North Korean themed chicken wings restaurant.
Oh, you see, my lights are open.
So they go in, and it's called Wing Yong Un, and it has the pink lady just reading the North Korean news constantly.
Wow.
The waiters call everybody glorious feeders, and all the chili sauce comes in like missile things. So ridiculous. It's not going to get made. And straight away, my producer's like, we've got to rein that in. But I had to go there to like get to the point where I could come up with something in between.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. And it's interesting that someone said it's the way my brain is wired. When I hear the likes of North Korea and Venezuela, I get so much excited. I get so excited when I hear all these countries with dictators in them.
Do you have any views for North Korea yet?
I haven't got any view. I haven't had any downloads in North Korea, and I suspect it's to do with their internet.
If you managed to get on the internet in North
Korea. Yeah. But but Venezuela, I have. Well, So I've got downloads in Venezuela. I've got downloads in Russia. So there are quite a number of dictatorial countries. But So good luck with your sitcom. Maybe we could talk outside this podcast because I'm writing something as well that I don't want to reveal. I just don't feel that I need to reveal it to the world. State secret. Tell me about your disability.
Yeah, so it's a birth defect. I was born with it's called Poland syndrome. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with Poland. It has nothing to do with Poland whatsoever. The guy who discovered it was a man called Alfred Poland.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop people thinking it's got something to do with Poland.
Okay.
Actually, if you go on Instagram and you search for the hashtag Poland syndrome,
yeah,
what you see is people just on holiday in Poland.
I on a separate note, because I use Twitter a lot now because of the lockdown. Yeah. And someone asked me, where is Laughter Republic? And he said, was it very close to Ligma? And I had no idea what Ligma was. So I had to Google it. And Ligma is a fictional disease. So, and I'm a fictional president, and I'm running a fictional country. So I'm thinking, is this guy actually insulting me? That
what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
And I am a fictional president of a fictional country. Sometimes I can't believe the words I have to hear in comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes.
Yeah. So I was thinking, wow, he must think that there must be something wrong with me. And I thought about it for a few minutes, and I thought, is there something actually wrong with me? Why am I doing fictional comedy? Why am I doing something fictional? You know what I'm saying? And he said it was a fictional disease, but fuck it, excuse me.
You were dead at one point. Where else is it to go?
Yeah, exactly. And your creativity has to take you to where you feel comfortable with. So I think he was probably just winding me up. But yeah, so you have that defect, and yeah.
So yeah, I had the birth defect. So basically, the main thing is I've got you see my left hand.
Okay.
Is completely different to my right hand. My right hand's completely normal.
Okay.
Does everything it needs to do. But then.
Okay.
This one is underdeveloped, smaller.
Okay.
And I had a lot of surgery on it.
Okay.
Because actually, it used to be a lot worse than this.
Okay.
But all of the fingers were webbed, right?
Okay.
Like a duck's foot, and it was very good swimmer.
Yeah.
But got all that removed because I couldn't use my hand.
Okay.
Couldn't use my hand. And now this is the really weird bit. So I had these two fingers on this hand that are not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One was really, really short and fat, and the other one was really long and thin.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like 1920s gangsters or something like that from a comedy. But they amputated those fingers.
Oh, wow.
Because I couldn't pick things up. I couldn't use cutlery. I couldn't tie my shoelaces. But as you can see, I've still got 5 fingers.
Yeah.
So these two here are actually my toes from my foot.
Wow.
I mean, where else are they going to be from? But it's the second biggest toe of each foot.
Okay.
that they stitched to me. I mean, I remember them telling me that they were going to do this, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to put your toes on your hand." And I was like, "Really? Oh, is this what it's come to?" And I'm like looking over at my parents, and they're like, "This is actually the most logical thing to do at this point." And we just went for it, and to be honest, it totally worked, because I can basically hold a pint with this hand. It doesn't affect me. I'm in day-to-day life, I'm not a disabled person.
Mm-hmm.
Just in a casting room,
Okay.
where they get you to hold your hands up to camera all the time.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Normal life, everyday life, not disabled. Acting world, definitely a disabled actor. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
So is that why do you think that is?
I think there's a two-pronged thing going on here. I think look, in our world,
yeah,
our society, looks matter.
Mm-hmm.
They just do. Like, maybe more than they should, but they just matter. Like, if you go to prep and you're pretty, you probably get free coffee, apparently.
Look, I get free coffee for just smiling.
No,
I'm just smiling.
I've never had one.
Look, you know what? Let's not forget the point you were going to make.
That's because you're going in full uniform. But like,
look, I go in full uniform after a gig, and actually, what was really interesting when it happened regularly, I thought I was the only one getting free coffee, and then I felt so special, because I just thought, wow, there's something I'm doing. Even when I wasn't in uniform, as soon as they see me, I just smiled, free coffee. Then one day, I found out that they were giving free coffee to someone else. I said, what the? I thought I was the only one. I genuinely thought I was the only one.
Yeah. I've never had one, but it's lovely that you have.
Oh, no, several times.
Okay, all right. But where was my point? Well, my point was basically in the acting industry. Mm-hmm. Right, in our society, at the end of the day, looks matter, which is why we get certain people who look a certain way advertising certain things, mm-hmm. and which is why certain people. I mean, what's the most popular show in the UK? It's Love Island. Mm-hmm. It's Love Island. What do they all look like, right? I mean,
they look like they don't eat.
To be honest, but like aesthetically, that's the ideal that they're all just shoved on there. Mm-hmm. Now, companies, specifically like advertising companies and stuff like that, they are paid by a client who has got absolutely no interest in the integrity of the advert or the quality of it a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And they don't want anything to distract from the product. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you stick someone who's slightly disabled or mm-hmm. visibly disabled or something like that, then they worry that the advert becomes about the inclusion of disability more than the product. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that that's spilled over a little bit too much mm-hmm. Into the minds of producers and casting directors, mm-hmm. where they think, well, we don't want someone who has a visible disability on this because it will take away from the story. There's nothing written in that story. Mm-hmm. that says this character's got this disability. Mm. Well, to be honest, I'm, like I said, an everyday normal person in everyday life. I can mm-hmm. run, I can go on bike rides, I can do carpentry, I can fix cars, I can mm-hmm. I just have a normal life. Mm-hmm. This isn't something that defines my everyday day to day. Mm. So why should it by default define every single character that I'm asked to play? Mm-hmm. And you'll have people say, no, it doesn't matter at all, don't worry about it. And I'll say, well, that's great that you think it doesn't matter, but why is it that 8 times out of 10 when I get an audition, it's specifically for a disabled casting? Mm-hmm. And I feel really awkward going into those castings because half the time I'm the only person with all 4 limbs. Okay. I'm like the least disabled person going into those.
Yeah. And that's even if they believe you, because until you actually said it, okay, when we met at Gilder Balloon, I didn't notice anything, you know. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So is it now what you will call your white privilege? Has it worked for your advantage?
I mean, I don't know. Like I guess it. it has in some ways, but it's worked at such a disadvantage in other ways. I mean, I think I managed to stir a bit of a buzz about me a little bit more with my show just because of that angle. And I think if I didn't have this story behind me, I wouldn't have too much to write about because my life isn't that interesting otherwise. I mean, interestingly, like I became single in July.
Oh, okay.
The first time I had to get onto the dating scene with a visible disability.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do with this? You know, what do I have a picture of me on the apps? Do I have a picture of me like, hey, by the way, this is coming. This is actually coming up. You better be okay with it, because I don't want to have that awkward conversation. I don't want to have that conversation. We're talking with someone and go, oh, yeah, by the way, ta-da! I hope you're still into me. Because weirdly enough, like, I'm actually okay with people just being put off by it. People have preferences.
Yeah,
I have preferences.
Yeah,
you know, I've been put off by really petty things before. I got put off by a girl once because her friend looked too loud. So what I actually did on dating apps is I put my full name.
Okay.
My full name, because I know that anybody who goes on a date with anybody nowadays, they Google them.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty Googleable.
Okay.
So after about 3 days, if they're still chatting to me, I'm like, no, they've Googled me and they're still okay with me. You know, and to be fair, sometimes people will be chatting to me, and then for no reason, bang, gone. Right, okay. That could be because they Googled me and realized that this is kind of weirding them out.
Yeah.
Water off a duck's back. Don't really care about that now. And you know what? Yeah, every time I've actually been on a couple of dates with somebody, and I've said, I maybe on the second one I've gone, right, so have you Googled me? And they're like, yeah, it was like the first thing I did. And it's like such a relief. You go, right, fine, great, because you know everything about me. Because that basically means you watch my stand-up, you've read the all articles about me, and I don't have to have this fucking awkward conversation where I go, I've got a weird hand, is that okay?
And it's amazing. It's amazing how we take these things for granted. Certainly with me and 6 wives, I don't even know what the dating scene is like. But Richard, on a serious note, even if they didn't Google you, what is wrong with that? Not necessarily surprise, but just accepting you for who you are at the very beginning of the dating scene, and it comes up, and then you say to them,
well, you know, you gotta be brave with it, and I've done it before. Like, actually, was on a date with a girl, and this was a few years ago, to be honest. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to say something, and to bring it up, you know. And I brought it up like I bring it up when I'm in casting rooms sometimes, and you just bring it up like, oh, by the way, I've got this thing. And it'd been like we'd been on a date for like 3 hours at this point. And I had enough to drink, and I went, oh, by the way, like, you know, stuff with my life, I've got this thing, I've had operations because I've got this thing with my hand. And she went, oh yeah, Poland syndrome, right? I know about that. And I went, what, you know about Poland syndrome? She was like, yeah, I know all about that. And I just looked at her and she went, yeah, I Googled you. I was like, well, why didn't you say something at the beginning? It was like, she was like, I wanted to see if you were actually going to hide it. If you actually, she fucking watched all my stand-up.
Flipping heck.
Anyway, it was kind of funny anyway. But
yeah. The story is funny. I can see how, because I've never seen your show and I've never seen you do stand-up, but I can see how that would work on stage when you're just talking about your disability and the stories behind.
I mean, yeah, there was this one really bad one, because what I used to do is I used to hide it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it's not actually the best thing to do. And like, I was on a date with this girl, and we were walking down the South Bank in London, and it was going okay. And she started holding my hand, right? My left hand. And I was like, which to most people is, oh, this is a good thing. This is going well. But to me, I'm going, oh, no. I haven't told her yet. I haven't told her. So I'm like in my head going like, don't worry about it. She's just holding your hand. She's not looking at it. It's going to be okay. And then I forgot something about my hand, right? Because I've had so many operations on it. Like the nerve endings down here aren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So sometimes when someone's holding my hand, I don't always know if they're trying to get out.
Oh dear.
And they can get stuck in there.
Okay.
So she tried to brush her. She wanted to brush her hair back or something, and she tried to let go of my hand. And her experience is I would not let go of her hand.
Oh dear.
I know. And then she kind of looked at me concerned, and I was like, oh, "It's okay, it's okay. I've got this thing. Sorry." And she was like, "I noticed it at the beginning. I just wanted to hold your hand to let you know everything was fine."
Wow.
So then it's just this weird communication level between both people. I'm worried to say something. She's a little bit worried to say something, but actually everything is okay.
Yeah. Cool. So I assume you're still single, so we can broadcast this to listeners from all over the world if you're still looking.
I'm not single as of about a couple of days ago. I think. Look, there's a situation. It's moving quite fast.
Excellent. That's great. But thanks for sharing such a fascinating story, and it's stuff that people tend to just take for granted. Yeah, I've been on a date before I got married to my 6 wives, and this was before all these dating sites, and I met someone introduced me to someone, and we spoke on the phone, and she had such a great, lovely voice. I mean, you know, those sort of voices that just want you want to go to bed and you want to hear that voice every night. And after about 2 weeks of telephone dating, we decided to meet. And
telephone dating.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how ancient I am, mate.
You would like the dial-up thing and everything.
Because there was no internet, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was nothing. This was so now I'm showing my age. So it's always like you have to press that big telephone thing. And we did that for 2 weeks, and my hands were aching me. So I just thought, look, I think it's time we meet. So we met at the station, and as soon as I saw her, I just thought, this is not going to work. I turned back. I just literally turned back. Because she wasn't who I thought she was. It was almost like I was catfished, Because when as soon as
catfishing the president.
Yeah, catfishing the president. I haven't started doing comedy then. But look, she told me what she looked like, and she told me what dress she was going to be wearing. But look, who I saw at that station wasn't the person I'd been talking to for 2 weeks. And I didn't want to put myself through that pain. I just said, no, I can't do this. I'd rather just leave the memory behind that 2 weeks. Because to meet you face to face and then find out you're not the real person who was talking to me, which I think she was, but it was, I wish her well. It's been a long time. So yeah, I've had those experiences of dating, but not online, more, telephone, big telephone.
Yeah.
Okay. The title of this podcast, as you know, is called If Comedians Rule the World. So I'm sure you've prepared yourself, because I demanded that you not only come onto this podcast, but that you should think about a topic that you want to talk about that is dear to your heart, that listeners and viewers, because this is going to be on YouTube as well, might find some benefit. So what is it exactly you would like to talk about in terms of a specific subject on If Comedians Rule the World?
So I I don't want to. It's not a policy that I've got or anything like that. But the subject that's been really winding me up in the last couple of months is the culture of wellness, and this idea that if you've got mental health problems and you need some help, that you before you try therapy, before you try medication and all the things that we know have worked. I was in therapy for 3 years. I know it works. Before you try all of that, you try getting yourself some bath salts and a scented candle, and maybe changing the layout of your bedroom or something like that. And it's just, it takes no responsibility for the thousands of people out there now that think that this is a substitute, a little bit like the sort of herbal medicine culture. They think that, like, certain herbal medicines that have not been proved to work can be an alternative to actual real medicine. I think the whole wellness thing can be taken too far, and it's not a substitute for real actual help. The whole self-love, self-preservation, self-care, and it's right on, it's brilliant, but it only goes so far, right? Because if you go, I need a bit of self-love, I don't feel like working this week, I'm just going to sit in my dressing gown and eat ice cream because that's what I want to do. And then you get to day 3 and they're still doing that. And they're like, no, I've been eating ice cream for 3 days in my dressing gown, but that's what I want to do. That's self-love and self-care. That's the most important thing. And it's like, is it? Is that actually what you should be doing right now? Because the thing is, life isn't all about going through it with no stress whatsoever. It's so easy in our society at the moment to have no stress because it's there, the option there. It's the instant gratification of Facebook and social media, and there's cheap fast food and everything, and you can stay in your house and you never have to leave. But it's not healthy. And you've got this whole industry which intends, in its essence, wants to help people. It wants to make people feel good, but really, that whole industry can't exist without people's misery. So it has to keep people miserable, and it has to keep people in problems, because then they're not going to buy the next type of fucking amber nectar that they're going to put on their face, or they're not going to buy the next scented candle that comes out, or they're not going to pay £1,000 for a yoga week somewhere in Bali or something like that. It's guys, it's not a substitution for actually helping yourself. It's supposed to be the nice things that you surround yourself by that make you feel a little bit better. But when you've got actual, real issues going on, you have to tackle them head on.
It's really interesting you say that, because one of my guests had a rant about the lockdown, Kate Copstick, and she detests yoga. She mentioned how she hated yoga classes and all that. What's made you form that view? Apart from the fact that people are making money out of people's misery, don't you think there's so much it's really interesting you mentioned stress. And my school of thought is that stress is good for you. Not too much of it, but you must have. I'm not. I hear people talk about how their life is so fantastic, and but they don't talk to you about the challenges that they face on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or whatever it is. So even if you have a 70-year span of life, there will be stresses. There'll either be family problems or work problems, or there will be creativity problems. There is no one who doesn't go through stress. And I know there are people who don't do any of these yoga lessons, or, they just get on with what they need to get on with. They face it head on. What's made you think that's not the right way for people? Actually, it's freedom of choice. People, and you're in a democratic nation where you could choose what you would like. I wonder whether North Korea allows their citizens to have yoga. Who knows? But
the thing is, I think yoga is a good thing.
yeah.
I think it's a good thing. It's just not the solution to everything. And actually, if you're going to link yoga, I think yoga is linked to Buddhism and Hinduism.
Yeah.
And I think it's a Buddhist proverb that life is suffering and happiness is finding meaning in that suffering. So intrinsically within that religion, which yoga was possibly formed alongside or with, it's very, there you have something in that belief which says life is stressful, life is hard. But at the moment, I think we've got a culture of people saying, well, actually, life, nothing should be hard.
Well,
like, nothing should be hard whatsoever.
They're kidding themselves. I mean, look at the state of the comedy industry. Look at the things that we all had in mind, and then general COVID comes out of the blue. And I was talking to you the other day about the Edinburgh Fringe and whether it was going to happen. I had a show already prepared. I mean, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't because of lockdown. This is not something that I normally would have done, but I've had to learn new skills as a result, rather than have the choice of wallow in self-pity and say, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do next. You adapt. And I think it's more of the culture. I think certainly people are not able to deal with stress the way they used to. But
I mean, I have this idea, like there's a lot of Instagram influencers out there that have absolutely no qualifications, and and they're telling people how to live their lives, and they're just saying, do what you want, do what you want to do. You just do what you feel is in your heart.
Yeah.
Well, what about if someone was out there and they were saying that, do what you want to do what you feel is in your heart constantly to make yourself happy, and then a load of people listened to them, and then there was a massive crime wave. And I'm like, whoa, I was just listening to this Instagram and she told me to do what I wanted, and it turns out what I wanted to do was rob a load of banks and kill people. It's not helpful. There is a healthy way to go about things and there's an unhealthy way to go about things, and it's not there's precedence on self-importance and everything is outward. I'm not like that myself. I'm quite a giving person. I can be selfish because at the end of the day, the goal of me giving something to something else is that they like me. I don't know. So it's sort of self-serving in a way. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there spouting some irresponsible information which people can't be trusted with. We can't be trusted with anything.
One of the things
when they asked us to name a boat, we call it Boating McBoatface, and now people wonder why we can't obey lockdown rules. We've never been able to be trusted with anything.
And they take whatever information they have without even researching on it. They just then apply it to themselves. So if you had someone come to you and said, "Oh, I have issues in terms of stress, dealing with life," what advice would you give them?
I mean, people come to me with these issues all the time.
Oh, you're a counselor then?
No. The thing is, like, I think you do. I do think you always have to trust your gut. If you've got if you've got a gut instinct which is saying, like, for instance, for example, I need to leave my job. I need to leave my job. It's like, okay, leave your job. Not just leave your job, plan to leave your job. Leave your job at the right time. Set yourself up something. Don't just run away from it and just jump off the cliff into a precipice because you're jumping into a worse situation.
Yeah.
Like, if someone comes to me with stress and asks me what to do, I ask them what the solution of that stress could be. And a lot of the time, the solution isn't something that people want to hear. People want to accept, which is why they're staying in that state of stress. I've had it a lot. I've had it myself, where I used to remain in a state of stress and chaos because it had become my comfort zone to stay in chaos, to stay in distress. And you don't want to accept what the solutions of those things might be, because it takes you away from what you're normally doing, which is being fucking scared. So it's like, it is being brave to take the solutions that are there in front of you, which don't always seem like the right thing at the time. And the thing is, and then I would also straight away advise them, I have no qualifications in counselling or psychology or anything like that. Probably don't listen to me 100%. But as someone who's been through 3 years of therapy and been on antidepressants and come off antidepressants and done that journey, this is what I did. And now I feel okay.
And I think the people that you can learn from are the people who've had that experience. That's just my view. Because I've just noticed there's just lots of people who post things and say, I'm going through X, Y, Z. And people start giving advice. And some of the advice is stuff that they've picked up from a textbook rather than a life experience to help that person recover. But what do I know? I'm a dictator, so I shouldn't even be talking about.
You're supposed to know everything. Yeah. It's supposed to be divine.
Yeah, divine. Yeah, this has been interesting, mate. We've had a very long conversation from you picking up women, pretending that you're disabled, to
just getting the sympathy vote there.
Get the sympathy vote for your comedy and for women, to the discussion on wellness. Now, this podcast is listened to and viewed by so many people, especially in 20 countries, and you're based in the UK. What message do you want to impact to my listeners? How can people find you, especially with your projects? And yeah.
The best place to find me is on Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time. If you go on my Instagram, that's the kind of light version of me. Nobody wants that. Like, don't do that. Like, go to my Twitter. It's much more fun. Which is at the R Stott.
Okay.
That's my Twitter.
Okay.
And advice to the world, is that something I was asked to give just then?
Yes. Do it. Do it.
Vote for President Obonjo is my advice to the world.
Thank you.
Keep voting for him in an election which is already rigged. He will win anyway. But,
Don't start me off with Trump. Don't start me off. I don't even want to talk about the fact that he was the incumbent.
Well, he's gone now. He's gone.
And he could fix the election. Yeah, this is an interesting point, because someone on one of the podcasts basically said that, don't I think because Trump has now left power that political satire is now dead, and that comedy, Trump was a comedy weapon, and all of a sudden there isn't anyone you could pick on or attack. What's your view?
My view is that actually satire became impossible with Trump around.
Yeah.
Because it was too crazy, and it was too far gone, and it was like literally the stuff that satirists would come up with in the first place that was actually happening. So that Trump being around was the thing that actually killed satire. I'm actually looking forward to satire coming back.
Yeah,
we've got somebody who's like rationally minded running America. Yeah. And we can just start taking the piss out of him again.
Yeah,
in a fun way, not in a horrible, like, oh my God way.
Yeah. I got nothing in common with Biden. Nothing in common.
Good.
Nothing. I wish him well, though. He's got a mammoth task.
I can't believe he didn't call you.
No, he hasn't even called me, even though I pretended as if he called me. I posted something on Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter. How are you finding Twitter? Because I never got round to using Twitter because I never really had the time. But since lockdown, I've been using it a lot. How long have you been on Twitter? How have you found it?
No, I've been on it for years, but I only really got into it about a year and a half ago. And because I was just like, I don't know what to do. You just put something out there, and it just goes out into nowhere. and someone reacts to it or whatever. But it's I actually find it really fun now. You know, there's certain trends come up, you get involved in it. There's a bit of a community. I've actually got friends who I've made through Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Who I did not know before.
Mm-hmm.
And we tweeted, we had the same sense of humor, we kept tweeting. Then they come to one of my gigs, we'd have a pint, and we're like, no, I've got two, 3 friends now.
Wow.
Just from the Twitter, like normal people as well, not like weirdos. Like,
not bots.
just like normal people with jobs and wives and stuff like that, you know.
I haven't had that. I haven't had that opportunity of meeting people who. The majority of the people who follow me have actually seen me at a gig perform, and then they decided to add me on Twitter as a follower. But it's a very strange place. People get really angry. They get really, really angry so quickly, and that angry and offended.
It's like the very, very best of the internet, and also the very bottom of the internet at the same time. It's all just in one place.
Yeah,
you can all be in one thread.
Yeah,
you know.
I've noticed that some people just tweet things just to get retweets. Don't necessarily.
Oh yeah. Like, what's your favorite biscuit? Is it a ginger nut or a digestive? Retweet for digestive and like for ginger nut. You know.
Yeah.
Self-serving shit. That's not funny, is it?
Well, I've said to myself that if it gets too much for me, I might just ban myself from Twitter. Just ban. I won't wait for Twitter to ban me. I'll ban myself from Twitter.
I would like to see your own social media platform.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my own social media platform. I'm thinking of my own Twitch, my own TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. Yeah, I got banned from TikTok. I got banned for a couple of days.
Okay. What did you do?
I just made a video of myself. I made a video of myself with my morning coffee and my dressing gown, looking down at the camera like I didn't care, with some like classical music playing and basically not doing anything. And the caption was, "Me when I find Donald Trump choking to death."
Ooh.
Even you're shocked by that. I'm surprised.
No, I'm shocked. No, I'm not shocked by that. I'm shocked by the fact that they banned you because of that.
It's a kids app, apparently. They don't like anything that's like.
It's interesting you say it's a kids app, but I've been receiving lots of, because I've been putting my stand-up sets on there. I've been receiving lots of. Yeah, it's getting better. I've seen lots of adults join me.
So it started off as like a teenager's account, very Generation Z. But I think after lockdown 3 happened here, all the over 30s just fucking got in there. And it's just full of weird shit now. It's great.
Someone said to me, you'd think that the TikTok fans of President Obonjo will be following the likes of Justin Timberlake. But what are they doing? They're following President Obonjo. What's happened to the world?
I don't follow you yet. I should follow you.
You should. I have 23.1k followers.
Oh, what? That's fucking loads. I've got like 6,000, and I've got 7,000 now, and I thought that was a big deal. You got 23,000.
Yeah, we're not boasting on followers now, are we? But it's really interesting. It is the biggest achievement in terms of social media, because my Facebook fan page has
it does go up a lot, right?
My Facebook fan page has 1,800. My Twitter, which is a bit disappointing for me, I've got 3,000. It keeps jumping from 3,775 and it goes to 3,600. I don't know what's going on. So I got 3,600 on followers. I got 3,000 followers on Instagram. But as a president, I should have 89 million followers on Twitter. At least 89 million. Yeah. But I don't know what I got to do. Who do I have to kill to get? Who do I have to kill, or which country do I have to bomb to get followers? Honestly. I look at it and
you don't kill them all. You don't kill anyone.
Exactly. And I just thought, as a result of Trump leaving, that, at one point I had more followers than Biden, and all of a sudden Biden has like 24 million already, just within a week.
No, sorry, you had more followers than Biden at one point.
Yeah, I had more followers than Biden. That was because binding was in transition. Yeah. You know that period where they shifted his account from Joe Biden to President of the United States? It was 0 followers. And then I had 3,775. And within a couple of days, he overtook me, 24.5.
Of course he did. You know, it's America.
Yeah. But look, Richard, it's been a pleasure. I've taken so much of your time. And thank you so much for joining me. Fun. Yeah, I love the art of conversation. This is one of many reasons why I've done this. And I wish you every success in whatever you decide to do.
Plumbing.
Sorry?
plumbing, scaffolding, something.
Well, I don't know. I still, I'm not even thinking about the future. I'm just taking each day as it comes.
Every morning I wake up and I'm just glad
I think if you plan too well ahead, you're likely to get really disappointed. You know, just one giant step from man.
Not plan anything now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Even though I think I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about Edinburgh Fringe. I knew whether it was going to happen or not, and I had my thoughts on it. But look, Richard, thank you so much. I'm going to let Richard go because we could go on and on and on and on. What an interesting and fascinating comedian! Not just a comedian, an actor. Not just an actor. He dates on all these, dating sites, looking for women. Even though
it's like I've stopped. I've paused my apps. I don't have any anymore.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I shall post it as soon as I can. Thank you so much for joining. Please subscribe to my podcast, If Comedians Rule the World, with President Obonjo. It is the only dictator podcast in the world. And this is the original dictator podcast. If anyone else is doing a dictator podcast, they have stolen it from me. Yeah. Richard, thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Oh,
bye.
That's so funny. Bye.
Bye.